Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is John Johnson. I'm the owner and operator of a firearms training facility in beautiful Cape Coral, Florida. And this is live from the range. And we are a indoor gun range that specializes in you. I am a firearms instructor that takes first-time students and teaches them to become more proficient with a pistol or a weapon of any kind. We do AR training, handgun training. We do have range time every day, and we are a facility specializing in the first time shooters. One of the things we do is we let students shoot pistols before they buy them. This helps them educate themselves a little bit better. Now, we're on a new software and we're on a new computer because we were having some buffering issues last week, and we want to see if we can solve these by trying this new laptop. The one I've been using is about 5 years old, which isn't old, but in the computer world it is, and we want to not have any of this buffer issues that we're doing, and I don't like it. So it is September already. Whew, that's kind of exciting. I know I'm excited because about in the 14th, which is next, not this Saturday, but the following Saturday, is opening day of archery season in Florida. And if you have been watching any of my uh, podcast, I have one that's called Follow Me to My Journey Back to the Woods, where we've been doing some deer scouting and putting up some tree stands and all kinds of fun stuff like that. And I have got some new software, new camera equipment, and you're going along with me to the woods while we attempt to have some fun and maybe get lucky and harvest a nice deer. And you'll be watching the whole thing. So, yeah, come along with me in my journey with that. We have a playlist already of about 5 or 6 items. We were able to go last weekend, Labor Day weekend, and put up a few tree stands. And we're getting those all set for the following week. I've had some cameras out, and we've got a few of our stands that are got some deer coming into them, and we've got a few of our stands that have got some nice hogs coming in. So it should be kind of fun there. It's not about the harvesting of the animal as much as it is just giving me some time and break. And deer hunting is one of my passions, as well as teaching people to shoot. So it is something I've done, and I really love bow hunting. So tonight is all about the newbie myths that the people think are going to happen to a firearm. And these, what we're doing is it's the 10 handgun myths that you believe are true, but that are not. And this is commonly questions asked by new students or somebody who has not shot too many semi-automatic pistols. Handguns are one of the most widely discussed and debated tools for both firearms community and the general public. Unfortunately, the widespread attention has led to a large amount of numerous myths and misconceptions. And we're going to cover a bunch of these this evening because I believe that a lot of times people's have been told this by somebody. And I'll give you one that I hear all the time. A husband will come in and tell me that he wants to get his wife a small pistol because he doesn't think she can handle a 9mm. And what he doesn't realize, that the smaller the pistol, the more recoil you're going to have. So his conception is a small gun has a small recoil, which would be totally opposite of that. You think about firearms, it's all about the real estate or lack of that causes recoil management. So that's one that's not on the list. It didn't make it this time, but I wanted to give it to you to kind of give you an idea what I'm looking for. And I'd like you guys to do me a favor, a solid, is go ahead and physically give me something that you have thought of or heard of that is physically something that you always been told, but in the long run may have been a myth of some kind, and I'll see if I can help you with that. So before we get started, we have a few people that have made comments already, and I want to verify that I answer some of those. We normally don't go back and forth on the comments too much. We try to get through our presentation, and then we open it back up for comments. You can feel free to put as much comments in there as you'd like, and we will try to cover each and every one of them as we do this. So let's look at our comments right now, though. Natasha, hello, honey. I'm back. I'm glad you're back. Staying all tuned in. Good. And Chris, hey, y'all. There we go. I'm glad you guys are here. So, guys, if you are new or you haven't been on the channel before, we would like you to introduce yourself to us and let us know where you're from. We have a lot of people that are on this from all over the United States. Now, we have some locals. Chris and Natasha are local here, and they're kind of loyalies and they're members here. But we do have other people that are on here that are from other places, like Jim and one of our other guys from um, um, Germany. There's a lot of guys that come on and off each week. So you get an opportunity, please, please, please comment below. Let us know where you're at, and if it's your first time, we would really appreciate you giving us let us know what's going on and where it is. And don't forget, if you have a comment of any kind, it doesn't have to be about this topic, but if you have questions about firearms training or anything else, or ideas of other lives we can do, please don't hesitate to let us know. We would love you to. We're here to help you guys and do what you want us to do. So here are 10 common myths about handguns. Quentin Booker. Hello, Quentin. How you doing, buddy? All the way from godforsaken state of California. Don't forget, Clinton. Ronald Reagan was from California. He was a Dem, and then he became a Republican. So I'm sure there's a lot of you good guys over there in California. There's not all the pink hair, green people. Although last week we had 3 pinkies in shooting, and the one guy had pink, blue, green, and red head, and he was just shooting just fine. So we don't discriminate against colored hair or anything else like that. It was just kind of funny. She was gothy, and he had multiple color hair. So to each his own, baby. To each his own. That's all I can tell you. Oh, great, Quentin. I'm glad you're here, buddy. Appreciate you. Have been on before, or are you the first time finding us? You can let me know that if you like, Quentin. Okay, so let's go ahead with myth number 1. Handguns are inaccurate beyond a few feet. Now, I have never heard this one. Nice, Quentin. Nice. I'm glad you're here, buddy. Make sure that we do this every Tuesday night at 6 o'clock. God willing, we do it each week, and it's all different topics, and it's all different stuff. Quentin, all I ask you to do, if you find some value in this at all this evening, make sure you hit that bell icon, the like and subscribe button. We are in one of those niches that seems to uh, people get unsubscribe very easily. I'm not sure it's a furious at what's happening, but it does seem like people do get unsubscribe once in a while. So if you have an opportunity, don't forget to hit that subscribe button before you leave, Quentin. We appreciate you being here, buddy. Uh, what do you think about that? Handguns are inaccurate beyond a few feet. I was talking to Jacob earlier when I was reading to this, and we had an outdoor range. We had all of our steel plates have to be shot over 20 yards, 60 feet. And I really was able to do it pretty accurately. Uh, and we got out to 50 yards and was able to hit the steel with a handgun. I can tell you that in a high stress situation, a handgun is probably the hardest thing to shoot because you can't give yourself 100% attention or 100% grip on that firearm due to the fact that it physically you can't get 100% grip on it. So there becomes one of those. Reality is, with proper training and practice, a handgun can be accurate at significant distances. Many shooters can achieve precise hits at 25 yards and more. Now, the Secret Service, I did a class one time with one of my students, and his nephew worked at the White House under Obama as a sniper on the roof of the White House, which was really cool. He came to one of our classes. He ended up booking the class for him and his nephew. And obviously, what am I going to teach you? I mean, he was very polite, very nice. He was a rifle shooter. He didn't do a lot of handgun shooting, but he was telling me that their longest shot they shoot is from the front door of the White House to the gate, which is 50 yards. And they use that 357 SIG for most of that stuff in that 229 platform. And we went out and he was able to do it at the range. I got so sick of him that day, I made him shoot wrong handed the rest of the day, and he still shot pretty well. But he promised me he'd send me a sticker, a sniper sticker, and he did. So I thought that was pretty cool. He was awesome. I wish I could remember his name, but he was awesome. He was during the time when we were in uh, Brazil for the Olympics, I think it was. That was when it was going on. And Obama was supposed to take a really short trip around, and he ended up taking the wrong trip around. And these guys were tromping through the woods trying to be in front of him the whole time with the sniper gear and everything else like that. So pretty cool. But 50 yards is you'd have to really be proficient because remember, you got to really control and have real decent trigger control because a little bit of bobbling at that distance could be 1.5 to 2 foot. So, myth. Pistols are accurate past a few feet. Most of the time, people aren't accurate after a few feet. That's the real challenge. Remember, these weapons are machines. And if we were to put these in a vise and actuate them with a trigger actuator, they would be in the same damn hole. They're that accurate, right? That's the whole concept of it. It's we are manipulating the pistol. The pistol itself is just a tool and it needs to be operated by somebody. So, myth number one our handguns are inaccurate beyond a few feet. Meh, that's wrong. They can be accurate. You know, people are mostly inaccurate with a firearm. Number two, the larger the caliber is always better for self defense. Okay. Well, we know that's wrong because if that was right, then the sheriff's department, the FBI, the military would all be still shooting 45 ACPs, big bullets, or 40 calibers. 90% of all of the agencies now have been dropped back down to 9 millimeter because a lot of times the 9 millimeter is going to be a higher capacity magazine, as well as lower recoil management. When the FBI went back to from 40 cal, which the 40 cal was designed for the FBI at one time, it was a hopped up, speed up round that they thought they needed. Their qualifications in the academy went down for their agents because of the recoil management. The women agents were having a problem with this. Well, not because they're women, it's because it's a high recoil muzzle flip product and it was real challenging for people to be accurate with it. So they were missing their qualifications. Took a lot more training, a lot more time behind the gun to be accurate. And so that's why they passed and got back down to 9 millimeter. The FBI did that. The United States military did that. Most of the sheriff's department and the police departments throughout the country have gone back to 9 millimeter. Now you're going to find some areas where they're still shooting 40, but majority of the time, the sheriff's department in Lee County, the police department in Lee County, the Cape Coral Police Department, they all went back to 9 millimeter. It makes sense. It makes sense because you're able to you have a higher capacity magazine in the gun. And back in the old days, in the 80s, when they were going through all the cocaine wars and everything else like that, and the FBI agents were all running around with 38s, 5-round 38s, 6-round 38s, and they were going against MAC 10s and Uzis and AKs. They just got outshot, and that was that big thing. That's why they went to all these high capacity Glocks, things that had higher semi-automatics, give them better opportunity in a gunfight to win. There's a big movie about that, and those guys all got killed by being undergunned. Even if you had a revolver, most of those guys weren't carrying, extra revolver rounds with them. A magazine with take a Glock 19 or Glock 17. Those are 17 rounds. The Glock 19's 15 rounds. And they do make 33 round sticks for those things. Now, a lot of those guys aren't carrying big sticks with them, battle mags with them, but, overseas and places like that where they go to war and they have to use a handgun, which is very unlikely used. But when they're going building to building, it's a lot easier to use a handgun with a battle mag. So, large caliber, meaning 45, meaning those, it's not always better because if you can really think about it, if I'm going to shoot a target, and I want you to really think about this, is it better to put them all here or one over there, one here, one there, one here, one there, because I can't control the recoil? If I'm engaging the weapon and the bullet's coming off the line of sight and setting back down on the line of sight, coming back on the line of sight and set back down on the line of sight, I have to readjust myself or put myself back on target before I win. So when you're shooting a 9 millimeter, it's going to rise and fall, rise and fall, rise and fall, rise and fall, and make it very simple and easy for you to be back on target for the next second, third, fourth, fifth shots, compared to having to bring it all the way back down before you find your sights. And that becomes somewhat of helps with accuracy. So large caliber is always best for self-defense. Now, there's a lot to be said about knockdown power, but physically, when you start looking at the ballistic testing on most of everything, ballistic gel is one thing. Ballistic gel with bones in it, or ballistic gel with 2 layers of shirts and jackets and things like that. They're all tested differently. Obviously, the bigger the hole, the bigger it's going in like a finger and coming out like a thumb with your 9 millimeter hollow points. Each one of those is going to be a little bigger when it comes out versus when it comes in. So yes, but are we going to be more accurate with a lower recoil product than a bigger recoil product? I think you'd be more accurate with a 9 millimeter versus a 40 cal or a 45 cal. But I can tell you in reality, shot placement is more critical than caliber size. A well placed shot within a small caliber can be more effective than a poorly placed shot with a large caliber. And that's 100% true. That's what I was saying, on, off, on, off, on, off, on, off, or boom, 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 boom. The more accurate you are, the easier it is for the weapon. Uh, Myth number 3: handguns are easy to shoot accurately without practice. Well, I hope not. That'd be my whole job. That's why that's how I make my living. Because people have a tendency to think shooting is just simple, and there's so much to it. I always tell people, shooting's not complicated. It's complex. There's so many little moving parts we got to put together to become proficient. We have a right hand, our dominant hand only holds on to the weapon. Our non dominant hand controls the weapon. Then we have dominant eye situation that we had to play with. And then we got our stance we need to work on. And there's a lot of different stuff. So, in layman's terms, there's so many different things you got to do with a handgun. I would tell you, in fact, that a handgun is probably the hardest weapon to learn to shoot. A rifle, the shittiest shooter in the world, you got the rifle on your shoulder, you got your chin across the weapon, and you got your eye going down that barrel. This is a proven fact. It's more accurate than any handgun will ever be, because you have short barrels on most handguns. 3.5 to 4 inch the average. I mean, there's some 5-inch barrels and 6-inch barrels, and those are going to be a little bit more accurate because of the longer they're in rifling, the more they level out. Take an inch and 7/8 38 revolver. That's a very challenging round to shoot accurately, because that barrel is rifled just like everything else is in the world. But if it's only going through a barrel this big, how much stabilization is being done to that bullet as it travels? And remember, gravity pulls on everything. So there's a lot to it. So I would tell you, in reality, shooting accurately requires consistent practice, skill, and development. Handguns, especially those with short barrels, can be a challenge to shoot well without training. Without training. Now, other guys that can watch a YouTube video, go to the range. I get videos every day, or people that tell me how I've changed their shooting, or how I've done this to them and how I've done that to them. And, I get people who are telling me I'm full of crap too, that none of my stuff works. I know that's not true. It's just people want to talk and say crap. But, you got to be, when you're on YouTube, when you're a social media guy, you got to take the good with the bad. So, if I don't help you, I don't help you. But majority of the time, I'm getting a lot more praise than I am, lose some weight, fat ass is what I normally get. And I am. I'm down 31 pounds from July 4th. Those tree stands have a weight limit of 300, so I had to get below that. So I started my regimen. I wanted to lose some weight because of you. It started July 4th. Heidi and I got back from our little thing. We went to the Keys and got back, and I told her I was going to start losing some weight for my birthday, which is August 14th. And as of the other day, it was I went from 305 to it was 272 this morning. So thank you, Guns and Fishing USA. I appreciate you very much, man. Yeah, 31 pounds is a lot, So, and the tree stands had a 300-pound limit, so I had to be careful, because if I was 300 and I took a Coke or a soda or anything else, or candy bar, I'd be over the weight there. So, yeah, so I got September the 14th will be the true weigh-in, and I'll kind of give you an idea. But the towels are fitting a little looser, and I'm only eating one meal a day, and I'm watching my carbs, and And I get up at 5 every morning. Miss Johnson gets up at 5, do her hair, and I do my 3 mile walk, and then I'm up and down working here. And my stupid watch tells me to stand up every so many hours, and so I had a little bit of a, I had a few of my buddies die over the last year and a half, and it really affected me. And I realized that I got to get back to doing what I love. The shooting is one of my passions. It definitely was, but I stopped everything to get this thing off the ground, and I have wonderful sons that helped me throughout all this stuff, and they've said go back to deer hunting, and I'll work, and that's kind of a nice thing. And I feel comfortable with them now. So matter of fact, Mr. Jacobs sold a gun today, so he keeps doing that. I may give him a raise. There's the ladder in the garage. There's the ladder in the garage, son. He knows I love him. So number 4 is revolvers are more reliable than a semi-automatic. That could be true. That could be false. Let me tell you my story. This has happened multiple times. A woman gets told by somebody that semi-automatic pistol she cannot shoot. So she goes out to the big Bass, I was going to say big box store, but big Bass Pro Shop. And she goes out there and she talks to the guy. You know the guy. Oh, revolvers are the best thing for you, lady. You can't rack a semi-automatic. There's no way a woman can do that. This is the best, safest gun for you. And then she buys it. Did she get to pull the trigger to see if she could pull the trigger? No. Did she get to touch the gun? No. Then she calls up and says, you know what? I bought this gun. I want to come do some training. Go, okay, sure. Yeah, come on. What do you have? I have a 38. Oh, really? Did you have that, or did you just buy that? Well, I just bought it. Oh, no. I said, did you pull the trigger while you were at the store? No. I said, all right, well, sign up. She brings it here, and guess what? She can't pull the trigger. The revolver's trigger can be 10.5 to 12 pounds. That's the safety on the gun. Now, we don't want her cocking it. You don't want someone cocking it to be able to pull the trigger, and you don't want her to put 2 fingers in the gun to pull the trigger. That's dangerous, right? So now she just spent $700 on a weapon she can't shoot. You know what I'm talking about? You know what an L is? An L is a loss. And when you bring that weapon to me and you can't shoot it and you can't do anything with it, and I take her back and I put her semi-automatic easy in her hand, she's able to load the magazine, rack the slide, and shoot it every day. And it's simple and easy. But because she went out there, or somebody or a friend or a family member told her she can't shoot a semi-automatic, she took it for the gospel. And she didn't even think about it. And now she's got a $700 mistake. You know how many $700 mistakes that I take back? I can't give them $700 for it. I try to help them out as much as I can. And I buy the revolver and get them into the other gun. Wouldn't it have been easier? And keep in mind, the Smith & Wesson EZ is economical. But because that guy out there at Bash Pro Shop doesn't think about her being able to pull the trigger, her being able to rack a slide, her being able to do anything, they're just thinking about the sale. Now, great thing about Bass Pro, there are not a lot of commission-based people out there. So it's not a commission-based thing. It's just the ignorance of the person looking at the person and realizing that when you buy a pistol, ladies and gentlemen, you're not buying it for today. You're buying it for 20 years. And if you can barely pull the trigger now, what are you going to do 10 years from now? Another thing that's in the house that you have no business having in your house because you can't hack it, you can't operate it. So revolvers are not more reliable than a semi-automatic. While the mechanics of the revolver are simple, right, and reliable, the modern semi-automatic pistol is highly reliable, easier to load, easier to rack, and more accurate because most revolvers don't have what on them? Sights. They don't have a sight system. They have a valley and a blade. And that becomes a little more challenging. And remember this, a 38 is larger than a 9mm. So you're going to get more recoil. And if you have less real estate with the revolver and more recoil, so recoil management is going to be a challenge for them as well. And most of the time, if you're buying a semi-automatic, they're polymer framed and alloys, where a revolver could be steel, which makes them heavier and not the greatest carry piece because of the weight of itself. And that trigger pull becomes so much more challenging for senior women to use. They like the simplicity of it, but they don't like the ability to pull the trigger. And what tends to happen, the more money you spend, the better the trigger pull is, but the chances of in a high stress situation you be able to get it back in a timely manner becomes a challenge. So revolvers are more reliable than a semi-automatic. I would disagree on that. That is a myth. All right, myth number 5. Handguns are useless for home defense. Okay, yeah, I can't. You know what's useless for home defense? A shotgun. A shotgun's useless for home defense. Why? Because most people think they're going to take a shotgun and rack it to scare the bad guy away. The racking of the shotgun is going to scare the bad guy away. Now, I want you to visually think this, okay? Put the shotgun in your hand, imaginary, guys, please. And then you hear the guy banging on your front door, and he's kicking away, right? And you walk up to the door, get it close enough to the door, get his attention, because while he's kicking, he ain't going to be able to hear that racking of the shotgun, and rack it. Now, once you've racked that shotgun, what have you done besides put a shotgun shell on the floor? Because that weapon should be loaded to save your life, correct? So let's say you have it cruiser ready. This is what the police used to do all the time. They'd have that shotgun in the middle of the cruiser, and it would sit there in the shotgun straight up and down, right there in front of the guy. And when the cop pulled it out, the very first thing you do is rack it to put one in it. And he would use that. Now they use their AR, so they don't really use shotguns that much anymore. There are shotguns being used, but not as much as the AR. So, but if you had the shotgun in a cruiser ready position, which means there was 4 in the tube and not 1 in the chamber, and you went to rack it the very first time, you just put a round in the chamber, you made the shotgun hot, right? Well, he's still kicking on the door. Well, what are you going to do now? You can't shoot through your front door because he's not a threat yet because he's not broken into. But maybe he quiets down enough you can rack it again for him to hear the racking of the shotgun. And then what's going to happen? You just put another round on the floor. And the average shotgun, home defense shotgun, has 4 rounds in it, plus 1 in the pipe. You can get extended and get to 7 or 8. You can get a Caltech, KSG, and get 15 or whatever you want in there. But you still shotgun's probably your worst. Secondary thing, if you're shooting buckshot in your home, there ain't nothing in your home that's going to uh, stop the shotgun's buckshot. Drywall's not going to stop it, obviously. And now you got family members inside your home. That's like an AR-15 for home defense. That's a terrible, terrible home defense gun. One, you're shooting a bullet that's traveling 3,300 feet per second. On top of the fact that you're not wearing earmuffs, you're not wearing eyewear, and you have a lot of soft other stuff in the home, drywall, refrigerators, things like that. And that gun's going off, and it's making a terrible, terrible noise inside the home. That's like putting off a flashbang inside your home. Hey Mario, how you doing, buddy? That's like putting a flashbang inside your home. Now imagine a flashbang inside your home, and on fact of that is you've got a big flame coming out of the front of it. Now let's say we're all right-handed and we're going down a left hallway. We have to transition that rifle to our left side for us to work. So rifles and shotguns are terrible for transitioning right or left. If you're right-handed and you're right-eye dominant, you can transition right or left, but you have to move the weapon to your left side and probably most likely use your left eye to shoot through those weapons. Hey, Ralph, how you doing, buddy? On top of the fact, if you use a handgun, we can physically lean, guys. So the handgun actually is the best home defense weapon you can have, because you can actually transition right and left with a handgun, which would be very challenging to do with a with a shotgun or a rifle. So in my opinion, in reality, handguns are highly effective for home defense due to their maneuverability in confined space and the ease of storage. Yes, you can set your home up to travel. We always talk to students in regards to wanting you to stage your house in a way that you can get yourself or fight yourself into a confined space. A lot of times we want to fight yourself into your master bedroom or your master bath that has a lockable door. That gives you ability to go away from the bad guy, not go out there and chase the bad guy with a firearm. And most of the time, bad guys are coming in your home. They're not going into the third bedroom and get down your curio box of all your crap. They're going into the master bedroom anyways, because that's where the gold, that's where the guns are, that's where the money is, and that's where the drugs are. So you lock yourself in a bathroom or bedroom. That's the easiest thing you can do. That's where that's where the help is. That's where the cell phone is. That's where the extra magazines are. That's where you're going to be. And you lock yourself in your bedroom. Remember this, in Florida, not every place now, guys, but in Florida, our home is our castle, and we are allowed to protect ourselves in our home. Bad guy breaks down your front door, walks in your house. He's not there to kiss you goodbye. He's not there to kiss you goodnight and put you to bed. It's an assumption he's there to harm, maim, or hurt you really, really bad, and you could treat him as such. Now, if you lock your bedroom door, you're fleeing from this guy without leaving your home, and he's coming to you, which makes it a cleaner situation for you. You're doing everything you can to get away from him, and he keeps coming towards you. Once you've locked yourself in that bathroom and he starts kicking on that bathroom door, he's put himself in a bad position, because now, where you couldn't shoot through your front door because you didn't identify him as a threat, you don't know who he was. Now he's in your home and he's behind that bathroom door, and most of your bathroom doors are 36 inches, and you were in that bathroom and he's on the other side of that bathroom door. Well, guess what, guys? He put himself in a bad position. Now you can fear for your life. Now you can work your magic and send a few warning things at him. If it does what it does, well, it's justifiable. It's there. He's there to hurt you, maim you, or kill you, and you need to treat yourself as such. And as a prosecutor looking at it, you did everything possible not to hurt this guy, and he kept coming. He made you fear him, and that's the thing. So, in the scenario with a handgun being useless for home defense, that is a big myth. That's probably your most important weapon you can have is a handgun. We consider high capacity in Florida anything over 10 rounds. Half of the United States does not have capacity laws. Then there are some, the states that have the capacity laws will be 10 or less. If you can, whatever the highest capacity you can have, you want to have it, if that makes sense. Number 6, all handguns have too much recoil for beginners. No. Majority of the time, somebody who's having recoil with a weapon have not taken a class. I can tell you a woman or a man can control the weapon. You do not control a firearm with your hands. You grip the firearm with your non-dominant hand. You hold the firearm with your dominant hand, and you drive this weapon. Gentlemen, you drive with your chest muscles, and women, you drive with your back. If you're watching this video, I just want to show you something real quick. Ladies, take your hand, your dominant hand, and push it out in front of you. Now imagine you got that firearm in your hand, and I want you to reach up with your non-dominant hand, and I want you to push your dominant hand into your non-dominant hand. And then once you get to full extension, I want you to begin to apply pressure with your non-dominant hand, and you will feel your back muscles begin to kick in. And this is how a woman controls the weapon, because they're using their back muscles. And the more drive we put on that weapon, the less recoil management you will have. Now, you have to have proper stance with this. You can't have 1 foot forward and 1 foot back in sort of a karate position. You have to have your feet in an athletic position, 2 feet side by side, shoulder width apart, and driving your nose over your toes, and you'll control recoil every day. The youngest girl I ever had in here shooting a 9mm was 9.5 years old, and she was running it just perfectly. The oldest was 87-year-old woman, and no recoil management to speak of, because they were not letting the gun run. They were running the gun. And that is the trick of all tricks, ladies. Gentlemen, take your hands right out in front of you right now. Bring them together and squeeze your hands together. Squeeze it as tight as you can. I want you to push, and then you'll begin to feel your pecs start kicking in. When your pecs start kicking in like that, you are controlling the weapon, and that's going to keep that flip from going on. A lot of people want to muscle the gun with their hands. Guess what, guys? No muscles. No muscles in the hands. Ligaments, tendons, no muscles. Our muscles come from our muscle strap. The thing about women is their pec is underneath their boob, where a man's pec is on top of its boob. So when he drives that out, he's using his whole muscle strap from the gun to the chest, to the gun. And that's going to give you the recoil management that you need to stop that muzzle flip. Muzzle flip is just something where people lose control. Now, how do we control a weapon the best? By sticking to 5 rounds, guys. Stop putting 15 rounds in a magazine and wonder why you're shooting like shit. The first 5 are the most important. When you load 15 rounds in a gun, you're along for the ride. You can only control it so long. And then you start, one's up, one's down, one's right, one's left, one's there, one's not. Then you question what's going on with this pistol. It ain't the pistol, guys. It's you. You need to control the weapon. And how do you control it? You drive it. So, recoil management is something that's very simple. I teach it every day, and I take people who have never shot a pistol before, never have shot a pistol, and I do this with people from Germany and, India and, Sweden. These people they don't get to shoot. They don't shoot. They shoot once a year when they come to America, and they're stacking them, guys, stacking them, because they're driving the weapon and controlling the weapon. Has nothing to do with the firearm. It has everything to do with the student and how much trigger control they have and how much pulling the trigger they're doing versus pressing. It amazes me each time. September is great. August is great for us because we do a lot of people from Germany and places that go on holiday before school starts, and they all come here. And one of the first things they do is they want to get the American experience. They go to the Everglades, they ride an airboat, they want to see an alligator, and then from there they end up doing a little bit of shooting. They got to do the shooting. They want to do the shooting to feel more comfortable with that scenario. And the more they do that, then it becomes everything for them, and they get the full American experience by shooting. We let them go back, shoot a few pistols, and then on top of that, we end up letting them shoot an AR-15. And we take pictures, obviously, and all that stuff like that. It's so much fun. It's amazing to see how much what they think of it on TV versus the reality of it is, and they all think it's going to jump out of their hand. And then we get done, they always say the same thing. I just thought it was going to be. I thought it was going to be bigger than that. I thought it was going to be much more harder than that. So I thought that's kind of cool. Myth number 7, you don't need to clean your handgun regularly if you don't shoot it often. You don't need to change your oil in your car. And be honest with you, the manufacturers of all the cars nowadays have made cars go longer on older oil, and they physically done this. And this is the science on this. They know that Americans do not maintenance their vehicles very well. And I know there's somebody on here that's going to say I maintenance every 30. That's great, wonderful. I'm happy for you. But most people don't do it. I'm guilty of it myself. The only reason why I try to get on a regimen is I get emails from Valvoline all the time telling me it's time, and they give me a good discount, so I go over and get it done. Yeah, I mean, do you have to make your firearm spotless? And the answer is no. Do you have to make sure that you clean it if it's going to sit for an awful long time? The answer is yes. I can tell you any weapon, any tool that's not taken care of will get rust on it, will not operate exactly properly. Is it something you need to break the gun down and clean it spotless each time? Actually, no. I don't. I mean, Jacob is our cleaner here. He cleans all the firearms. We do Sunday, we do free cleaning gear. And Jacob teaches people to fish. He doesn't clean it for them. He teaches them how to do it. That's a service that we offer for all of our students and our people that come here. To be honest with you, majority of the time Jacob's clean guns that are not dirty. I can tell you that you can really shoot like a Glock, for instance. Then they'll run till they're dead. I mean, you got extractor problems. We have to clean one of those, and that's what they were designed for. A lot of pistols, if they're picky and they won't run while they're dirty, you don't want that pistol. Smith, Taurus, Glock, Ruger, all the high end products, the Kimbers of the world and all that stuff. They're picky on ammo. They're picky on being if they're oiled or not oiled. You just don't want to deal with it. You wanted something that when you pull the trigger, it's going to fire each time. So you don't need to clean. I would tell you need to clean it. This is something that is something that a maintenance situation like this is not hard to do. You can simply they make this thing called a bore snake, and the bore snake is a piece of string with a piece of cotton string on it, and in that copper string there is a brass cleaning bar, and you drop the piece of metal into the barrel, no, in the receiver, and you just pull it through. And you oil that piece of rope there, and you pull it through a couple times. As long as you are lubricating the barrel and brushing off where the bullet sits, where the firing pin would be, and make sure that you clean your hand grease off the firearm, you're good. Now, a lot of seniors don't have the strength to take a gun back to slide lock and lift the lever to get it all apart. That's what That's what we're here for. I mean, there aren't a lot of stuff. There's a lot of stuff you do to a revolver, really. I mean, you clean the bore, you clean the cylinder wells, you toothbrush the backside where the firing pin is, and you oil the whole thing down to make sure you get your grease fingers. The only thing will tell you is if you leave a fingerprint in a piece of metal and you don't clean it off or the oil residue gets in there, it'll eat that fingerprint right into the metal. So you would want to clean it on a regular basis. All right. I kind of got number 8 here, but they're talking about a handgun. All you got to do is rack the handgun to scare off an intruder. We've already talked about this. If you're racking a firearm inside your home, that should have had a bullet in it to begin with. And I know a lot of people don't feel like they should have the gun loaded in their home, and we do this every day, and I do the same thing over and over again. It's a silly question. Should the gun be loaded in your home? Now, I get the whole safety and the kids and all that stuff. And as parents, you need to put them away. And I'm not getting into that scenario. You have children, you need to make sure that you secure these weapons away. But keep in mind, guys, at 2 o'clock in the morning, when you woke up with somebody banging on your front door and you are woke up out of a dead sleep, do you really think that you're going to have the wherewithal to understand I got to rack the slide to go out there and to see what's going on? Are you going to the door and even forgetting the firearms there? These are all baby steps, guys. It's not something that you're going to be able to do right away. But keep in mind, racking anything, racking a shotgun, pulling the slide back on an AR, or racking a handgun is just putting a round on the ground if it's loaded. And keep in mind the shittiest new construction home has more insulation than you think. So when you rack that through a door, are they going to hear it? Or is that going to help us? And at that point in time, you kind of already told them you're a novice at this, because why the hell would you rack the slide in front of a bad guy? You just told them, I don't like to keep these things loaded. That's why I racked it, because I was so nervous about it. And then it gets him in a better position. Now he can come after you. Because he's probably thinking, if you don't have it loaded, you're not confident. If you're not confident, chances are you ain't going to pull the trigger. And you put yourself in a bad position there. So Do not, by any means, rack a firearm or rack a shotgun to scare an intruder off. Don't forget, in Florida, using your weapon in a line of defense, we have what's called castle doctrine, that's inside your home, and then we have stand your ground, which is outside your home and anywhere in Florida. If you feel you're in life threatening things and you stand your ground inside or out, not inside your home but outside your home or anywhere in Florida, and you use your firearm in line defense, you got to make sure force is meeting force. That's one thing. And number two, at that point in time, who's witnessing it? If you pull that firearm out and you rack it, and Karen saw you pulling a firearm out, she may look at that as brandishing a firearm. Now, brandishing is lifting a firearm or pulling a firearm in rage and anger, which, if you brandish a firearm in Florida and in a lot of other states, but in Florida, it's totally against the law. You can't pull a gun in rage and anger. You can only pull a gun in fear. Now, obviously, you were in fear. You pulled the gun. But Karen's the one that called 911. And what did she see? She saw a bad guy with a firearm. Because firearms equal what? Bad guy. So you put yourself in a weird position when you start pulling firearms and racking them to scare off an intruder. Hope I answered that. Relying on the sound of chambering around to deter an intruder is not a safe or effective defensive strategy. Intruders may not be intimidated and could lose the limited of the element of surprise, and that's the challenge there. All right, so there's number 9 is handguns are only for self-defense. That's not true. Obviously there are a lot of 22s out there. There's a lot of people come and shoot on a regular basis. Our winter residents don't golf. Some just shoot. And that's one of the things they love to do, and they get accurate. During the fall, we have our leagues that we start, which are kind of fun nights. Just become more and more accurate with a firearm. It's not, it is a sport in itself. And watch the Olympics. It's in the Olympics, so it is a sport, guys. I don't know if you saw that guy. All those pieces had all those parts and all that stuff, and that guy just stood there and just closed his eye and got a bronze medal for it, or silver. I don't remember exactly. It was pretty impressive. These guys spend all the time in the world, hours and hours out of the range. It looked like he just walked up there. Yeah, what the hell? I'll try it. And then he ended up getting the bronze for it. So that's pretty cool. Handguns are very versatile tools that can be used for self-defense, sports, hunting, and even collecting. There's a lot of collectors out there. There's a lot of people that use them for hunting. I know that I've never done it, but there are people who deer hunt in Texas and other places like that with handguns all the time. It just adds a little time and energy to your thing. Obviously, the more time you spend with a firearm, no matter what it is, the more comfortable you get, and it becomes more and more as you start figuring out what's the best and this and that. And that ends in the last one here. And I really, really, this is one of my pet peeves that aggravates me the most about people. The more expensive the handgun is always better. Yeah, okay. All right, so here's the scenario. Guy buys a $3,500 firearm. He buys it from the big box store up the street. He brings it over here. We put a red dot on it. It didn't come with a red dot. It's a $3,500 gun, and he puts a red dot on it. And then he takes it in the back, and it's shooting all over the place. And he says, "There's something wrong with the red dot." I go, "What?" He said, "There's something wrong with the red dot." I said, "What's going on?" He goes, "Well, one's up, one's down, one's right, one's left. They're just all over the place." I said, "Oh, okay." So we went back there and we sat, and I said, "Go ahead and shoot 5 rounds." So he shot 5. I go, "Okay. Can you shoot 5 more?" I said, "Yeah." And he was all over the place. So I go, "Can I shoot?" And I put it up there, and I put them all in this, almost all in the same hole, using the same red dot. He goes, "Well, how'd you do that?" I said, "I pressed the trigger." You can have a $1,000,000 gun, but if you don't have the the ability to control the weapon by pressing the trigger and got all the foundation, a red dot, a $1,000 pistol is only as accurate as you are, right? We go buy a thousand. Listen, I could buy a $1,000,000 pair of track shoes. I'm never going to win the Olympics because I can't do it. I can't run 26 miles, right? Guys who run marathons, they don't go out the first day and run 26 miles. Their body has to build up to it. Same thing with a firearm. Doesn't matter how much money you spend on it, you're only as good as you're going to be. In a more expensive firearm, yes, it's going to have a nicer trigger. Yes, it may have a nicer, but you still are attached to it. And you have to become better. This is what you do, guys. You buy a good quality weapon and you spend money on training and you become proficient with a pistol. And then if you want to upgrade to a better trigger or a better gun, then do it. But buying a brand new $4,000 pistol thinking it's going to make you a better shooter, just not going to happen. Just not going to happen. The price of handguns does not always correlate with effectiveness or reliability. What matters more is fit, function, and shooter proficiency with a firearm. There we go, guys. Understanding the realities behind the common handgun myths is critical for both safety and effective firearm use. Misinformation can lead to dangerous practices, unnecessary fears, which is 100% true, or overconfidence that could have been seriously consequential. Uh, by dispelling these myths, we hope we have encouraged responsible handgun ownership and usage. Guys, it's very important that you spend enough time to understand your weapons. Remember the safety rules. Remember that you run the tool never runs you. A lot of times people spend a lot of time and energy at the range. Do me a favor, get you a plan. We talked about this multiple times. Come up with some ideas that's going to help you become more proficient. Pick a couple drills that's going to work best for you and figure something out. Come in here buying 300 rounds of ammo and going in the back and shooting 300 rounds of ammo is not helping you. That first 50 that comes to the gun is the most accurate. After that point, you're along for the ride, if that makes sense. You're along for the ride. Well, I hope you enjoyed that. I thought it was pretty good because I deal with it all the while. We get first time shooters. Yesterday was a great day. We had four brand new, never shot a pistol before students, which is pretty awesome. Hey, Jake, I think the camera just went out. Can you check that real quick? Just that. Can you plug it in? I'll just switch over. I'm gonna switch over to the other camera, guys. Hang on one second. There I am. Sorry about that, guys. Camera went dead. So the idea of this more than anything else is you spending much time as possible becoming more proficient with the pistol. The more proficient you are, the easier it is. Oh, here. You can see the deer heads. See the hog head, the deer head? All right, you still there? Yep, yep. All right. Yeah, sorry about that, guys. Got a little carried away, pushed the wrong button. So yeah, let's go up and say good night to everybody who showed up this evening. This is pretty awesome. We had a good night. Good people. All right, Natasha, Natasha's mom. Thank you. I'm glad you're here. Quentin Booker, thank you very much for this evening. Chris Haas, as always, thank you, brother. Yeah. Gun and Fishing USA, we love you, brother. Don't pay attention to the haters. Oh, I don't, buddy. Trust me. I got thick skin. I have thick skin more than one way, but I got thick skin. You know what? Every time someone comments something like that, all I do is put on the thing. Hey, thanks for the comment. Facebook looks at YouTube looks at comments as a win. So whether they're commenting bad or they're commenting good, it's still a good one. I people want to spend up all night running around chasing a bunch of crap. It doesn't affect me. To be honest with you. It's hard to lose weight. I lost 5 pounds in here. Guns and Fish USA. He says it's hard to lose weight. I lost 5 pounds in a year. Yeah, it is not easy. I can tell you, for me, it's mostly uh eating weird times. Miss Johnson gets up at 5. She doesn't get home until 2. She can't wait till 7 when I eat. So we're on different eating schedules, and then we go out to dinner or something like that. And you can go eat, bunch of carbs. You cut the carbs out, buddy. That right there itself, and I know bread is a tough thing. I just started eating wheat bread. That was one of the things. If I want a slice of bread, I do wheat, and then I kind of like to just double up on the protein as much as possible. And I fast for a bunch of hours, and I don't eat dinner until about 8 o'clock every night. So I go from 8 the night before to, and I don't eat past 10 a.m. 10 p.m. So I had a 2 hour window to eat, and I eat whatever I can eat during that time, and it just kind of, and walking and drinking some water, and that's kind of what's doing it. So it doesn't hurt that, when you're big, you can lose a lot more really quick. When you're thin, you don't yeah, it's tougher to lose the weight there. Miss Johnson's loses a little bit of weight too. So proud of her. She started a little regimen of hers, and she's been marking what she's eating and everything else like that. So yeah, it doesn't help to lose a few pounds. You get you further along in life. I've been fortunate enough that I am big, but I don't take any medication at all. Doctors say I'm healthy, so yeah, he says I should lose some weight, so he's happy about that. But beyond that, I'm not on this medication thing. I don't drink. I don't smoke. That's one of those great things. But it just takes time. That's all. You didn't gain it all in one week. You ain't gonna lose it all in one week. Gun and Fish. I carried my first gun I bought 31 years ago. It's a Ruger P89. Wow, man, that's awesome. That's an old school. That's heavy. Don't fall in the pool with that. You go right to the bottom, buddy. That's a heavy gun. Jay Mario, hi from New York. Thank you, Jay. Glad you're here, buddy. Glad you were on the live tonight. It's hard to justify buying an AR rifle. So J Mario says it's hard to justify buying a rifle for what they are. AR rifle, practical for. Well, you know what you could do, buddy, if you're looking for something, you can try to find an AR carbine. And the carbines are more 9 millimeter. Smith and Wesson makes the response, and they make the FPC. Those two would be ideal. They are a 9 millimeter. What the nice thing about ARs is accuracy wise, because you got your nose over it, you're going to be a lot more accurate with that gun. It's a great gift to his significant other. Have them sit in the corner, 23 round mags. I mean, a 9 millimeter carbine's a lot easier to shoot in the house if you had to do that versus a AR-15. Now, Jay Mario, you're not buying an AR-15 because you want it. You're doing it because they don't want you to have it, sir. And that becomes more important thing. These same people are making these laws and regulations that telling you they don't want you to have it. They're protected by them, buddy. So that becomes one of our challenges too. Sometimes we call it the FU purchase. Sometimes people buy guns because they're told that it may be outlawed or illegal at one time or another. Now, in your area, you want to be very careful what you buy and what you pick up due to the fact of some of the stringent gun laws in NY itself. But a lot of times, rifles are a lot easier to consume there than it is a handgun. So that may be an option for you there, Sir J. Mario. Jose Fernandez, great info as always, Mr. Johnson. Good night and practice, practice, practice. Thank you, Jose. Appreciate you being here. I'm glad you're always loyal, my friend. Well, guys, tonight is the night, and it is Tuesday night, and it is taco night, and I'm about to get the hell out of here and not get tacos because I had a good lunch today. I ate some pork, so I can't really go eat tacos. But I will tell you this: get out, do some stuff, find yourself. Life's too short. Tell those someone you love them. Make sure your relatives. If you're in a situation where you haven't talked to your parents or your mom or your dad or your brothers, life's too short, boys. You don't want to get in a situation where you wish you'd have said something that you could have said now. You may have to swallow a little bit. You may have to be the better person, but stop it. Life's too short. You don't want to regret anything. Until next time, guys, God bless, be safe, and remember, you are your first line of defense. Guys, if you found anything valuable this evening, do me a favor, hit that bell icon, that like, and that subscribe button. Tell a friend or a family member about this Tuesday Night Live, and we will see you, God willing, next week. I love you guys very much. You don't know how much you mean to me. We'll see you.